There's something about the Polish fans who've been incredibly loyal to Ultravox. They remember that Ultravox came to Poland when it was still behind the Iron Curtain.
Hi, you're listening to Eska Rock, and today I'm here with Midge Ure, and thank you for taking a moment to chat.
That's fine. Thank you for having me.
So, in one of your previous interviews, you mentioned that live music remains your first love, and it's clear that performing live still holds a special place in your heart. So, can you share with us how do you manage to keep that passion alive, and what is it about performing that you love so much and brings you most joy?
I think there's something about the moment before you step on stage, and an adrenaline rush. There's an excitement and a nervousness, even though you've done it thousands of times before, even though you know that you've rehearsed what you're going to do and the band's great and it's all going to be fine, you still get that little bit of nervousness.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what it is, that I performed long before I was allowed in a recording studio to make music. So live performance was always my first thing. And it's never gone away, that desire to go on stage and perform, because I remember what it felt like sitting in an audience waiting to see David Bowie or whoever walk on stage. And that excitement that you get in the audience just before, even before the first note is played or sung, that excitement's still there. And I have to remind myself that some people will feel the same thing coming to see me. And that's a buzz. That's great.
Oh, that sounds exciting. And before we talk about your upcoming tour, I would like to mention the October show at the Royal Albert Hall, the 70 years of live and music. And that was a pretty extraordinary show in an amazing venue. And what emotions were running through your head as you performed there, like considering it was a pretty significant show? Was it a time of reflection, maybe?
It was, yeah, it was prior to the show happening. Of course, we had just finished a UK tour, and then we decided to do this one special show as a birthday celebration at the Albert Hall, and that's such a special venue. I've played it quite a few times, but it's a very special place. The thing that was most touching about it is that people in the audience traveled from all over the world to be there for the celebration and the event. And I decided when you do an event like that, people expect you to bring on lots of guests, lots of people that you've worked with over the years. And here's Kate Bush, and here's such and such. And I decided not to do that. I decided to walk on stage to start on my own, just with an acoustic guitar, and sing a song and build it from there. And it was glorious. It was one of those evenings where you could do no wrong. The audience were just waiting to be part of this fantastic event. So it was ideal. I mean, I'll remember that for the rest of my life. It was a glorious moment.
Yeah, it's incredible. And your whole music journey is really incredible. So with Silk and with Tin Lizzy and Ultravox and your solo career and the band aid, and over those years, so much has happened, and you've created so many wonderful music pieces and participated in such events. And do you have one favorite moment in your head that pops immediately when you think of, my favorite moment?
As you say, there's so many. Working with favorite artists. My favorite artist is always special. Um, you know, uh, Doing Live Aid was special, but different. For me, the most significant moment musically was the moment I joined Ultravox, because Ultravox were, in the music industry's eyes, were finished. They'd just come back from an American tour without the singer, without the guitarist. They'd been dropped by the record label after making 3 albums. Their career was almost finished. But the moment we got together and played some music, we plugged in and made a noise, it was the most amazing sound I'd ever heard in my life. It was just electric. It was just exciting. So that moment, before we wrote anything, before we recorded anything, I just knew that this was where I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be there in that band at that moment in time. And besides all the big highs, all the wonderful moments that people see out there, to me, that was the most important moment.
And as you look back in time, what is the biggest lesson you've learned along that musical way?
I think when you're young, you want everyone to understand what you're doing, and it doesn't work that way. And you want everyone to say good things about you, and it doesn't work that way. So I've learned over the years that it doesn't matter if you get a good review or a bad review, or people think your music's dreadful or think it's genius. It doesn't matter, because as long as you keep your standards high, you satisfy yourself, then someone out there will get what you do. If you start to adapt what you do as an artist to try and appeal to a certain audience, you've lost it. It just doesn't work. You know, you end up chasing something that changes every 6 months. So you have to stick by what you do. Don't believe what's written or said about you, because it's irrelevant. You know, I've released music that commercially was the worst selling piece of music I've ever been associated with. But then a couple of years after I released it, it gets used on a TV commercial and becomes one of the most successful pieces of music I've ever been associated with. I didn't change it. You know, I didn't adapt it. The audience heard it differently for some reason and made it commercially successful. To me, it was successful the moment I wrote it because it was an interesting piece of music. So yeah, don't change.
Oh, it's really important, and I think a lot of young musicians should hear that message.
Maybe.
Now on to what's happening right now. In a few days, the Rock Meets Classic tour starts, and it's a project that brings together a lot of wonderful artists on one stage. And how do you feel about that event? Is there anything that can surprise you still on such shows?
It all surprises me. I arrived in Germany yesterday, and I've met artists that I've never met before. There's one in particular, a guy called Russ Ballard. Russ Ballard used to be in a band called Argent, but he's written songs for, I mean, massive songs for other artists. He's written more songs than I have, I think. And it's interesting to see someone who is significantly older than I am, still enjoying, still doing, still performing music that he's written over the years. Rock Meets Classic is quite a specialist thing. It's an orchestra, it's a young orchestra, and a great rock band, and a variety of vocalists, singers from various bands. And I've done it a few times before. I found myself on stage with Alice Cooper, you know, 2 of us on stage singing Schools Out. Those moments never happen, but you know, when they do happen, you think, oh, this is great. I never planned this. This is great. So I still get surprises when I do things like this, because I'm interacting with people that I normally wouldn't come across in the music industry.
And after the Rock Meets Classic shows, there is a show that is especially exciting for Polish fans here. It's the Castle Night in the beautiful castle in northern Poland, and it will be the first musical event in that place. So what can we expect from that?
Well, I've never been there, but I know what castles can be like. Obviously, coming from Scotland, we have lots of castles up there, and I think the setting is incredibly important, and putting the right setting with the right music. So a lot of the music I've written and created over the years is very atmospheric. It's very filmic. It's like soundtrack music. So the idea that this beautiful setting will be there as a backdrop for the music that I'm going to play is great. I mean, it's going to be an amazing event for someone to sit. I'd like to sit and watch it. Sadly, I can't. I'd like to sit there and look at this scene with this music playing. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's always great to play places you haven't played, especially in a long career like I've had. You tend to play a lot of the same places again and again and again. So the idea of playing with this beautiful setting, this castle, is great. I'm looking forward to it.
We can't wait to see you there. And in the autumn, we expect your tour, catalog the hits. And as you revisit songs from different stages of your career, do you maybe find yourself experiencing something new about them, like a new emotion or a new insight?
If you think of music like a diary, you know, if you keep a diary and you go back 20 years and you read your diary from 20 years ago, there are some things that you will understand, you'll get, and you'll remember. But there are also other things where you think, I don't quite understand, I don't get what I was saying. Why was I so happy? Or why was I so miserable? And it's just music's exactly the same. I can go back in time and think, okay, I haven't heard this for years. I don't listen to my own music. You know, once I've made it, it's out there for someone else to listen to. So I go back and listen to it in order to put together a show, a set list for a tour. And some of it, yes, I get it. It still stands up. It still works for me. And other parts, I just think I can't sing this again. I sang this as a different person. I sang this as a much younger person with a different look on my future. Now I'm looking back over this period. It doesn't resonate with me. So I have to pick exactly what works for me now from the past. And that can be interesting because it's not always the obvious songs that people would expect you to play. So I'm trying to balance between what people would want to hear and what people might find interesting to hear on the catalogue tour. So as I say, if I didn't feel it, it would be a dreadful concert. So I'm being very selective about what I want to perform, but I won't know exactly what I will perform until we've gone into rehearsals, because sometimes it works in your head, but doesn't work musically.
And do you have any surprises prepared for your fans? Something that they might not expect from those shows?
Well, I'm toying with the idea of playing a couple of instrumental pieces. I mean, I've always written instrumental music. I've just completed an album of instrumental music that I want to play. So I might choose some of the things that I've done in the past and maybe put a section together in the middle of the concert where it's different instrumentation, or you know, because the guys I have performing with me are multi-instrumentalists. They play violin and mandolin and keyboards and guitars and all sorts of things. So maybe there'll be a section in the middle where I either do an acoustic section or some instrumental music, something to make it slightly different from previous tours.
And if you maybe could choose one thing that every person that sees your show could take away for themselves, what would that be?
I think holding the interest of people in the audience is something I only realized in the last few years, that when you play a concert, and this is the same for just about every artist, when you play a concert, probably half the people there don't really know what you do. They know the hits. They don't know any of the other stuff because they're there with their significant other halves, their boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, partner. So they go to the concert kind of not knowing. They know Vienna, they know If I Was, and maybe something else. They're the ones that you have to try and get to. They're the ones that you've got to think, okay, I want them to leave the concert thinking, I really enjoyed it. I didn't know he played guitar. I didn't know he could sing like that. I didn't know this was going to happen. And that to me would be achieving something. Whereas when I go and see an artist that I like, I know all the stuff. I know all the stuff. And I'm really satisfied hearing those things. But someone who doesn't know it, I want them to walk out thinking, yeah, I'd go and see that again. That was good. That was a good night.
So you seem to have a very busy time ahead of you, but do you have some time to go to shows yourself? And maybe you've seen someone interesting not so long ago.
I don't get as much time as I would like to go and see artists. I'm currently living in Portugal, and the area of Portugal I'm in, there aren't many artists come through. But when I see someone that I like, I make a concerted effort to go there because it's all supporting the industry. The music industry is going through a very difficult time right now, and we have to support each other. So I go and see things, usually artists that I know, but I miss going to see new up and coming artists because they have very few places to play. Whereas back in the day, there used to be a circuit where you could play clubs, and you go on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night and you'd see a band that you'd read about and experience what they were doing. And that's becoming more and more difficult for young artists to achieve. So I'm not fulfilling that desire as much as I'd like to.
Oh yeah, I understand that. And finally, do you have any message for Polish fans out there?
There's something about the Polish fans who've been incredibly loyal to Ultravox. They remember that Ultravox came to Poland when it was still behind the Iron Curtain, and we toured quite extensively. And that loyalty is still there, and it's incredible. And it's not just from the people who were there in the early 80s when we came, but the generations afterwards seem to appreciate it. And I think it's maybe because Polish radio have played Ultravox music, solo music, all the way through. So yeah, I'll always come back to Poland. I always have a great time when I'm there. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this castle though. I might move in. I might live there.
Thank you. We can't wait to see you. And thanks a lot for agreeing to chat with me. And it was a real honor.
Thank you very much, Claudia. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.